What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So as you can see, we've got Dylan's Tahoe here behind me again. If you guys seen a few videos back, we went ahead and put a leveling kit and some new wheels on this thing. So now we're gonna go ahead and play around with one of the handheld tuners that I have. I did some videos on the tuners a while back. I made them their own playlist, comparing the stock file in the Silverado that we have to the Diablo and the Superchips. Today we're gonna mess around with the Superchips on the Tahoe. We'll probably take it out and do some draggy runs. We'll see what we have room for. Probably do some 0 to 60s mainly, maybe some 1/8 mile if we have enough room for it, but definitely some 0 to 60s. And we'll go get some 93 in this thing and give it a shot. If you guys aren't already, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell so that you get notified anytime we put out a video with the GTO, the Duramax, or the Hellcat. Let's jump right into today's video. Alright guys, so we've got the handheld tuner that we're going to be using right here. It's a little Flashpaq. We're going to go ahead and put 93 in this thing and run it on the 93 tune. You can do a bunch with it. It is also nice for calibrating the tires for different sizes and different gear ratios and things like that. So it's definitely super handy to have around. I've had this one kicking around for a little while from when we did the video with the Silverado. So we're going to give it a shot on this thing. So let's run down, put some 93 in this thing. We'll get some cameras set up and break the draggy out and see what we can find for a difference. Alright guys, so this one's going to be a little bit downhill, but we'll just start in the same spot every time, whenever you're ready. Alright, thing takes a long time to get to 60 miles an hour. Definitely a dog right off the line.
30.
Alright guys, so we wanted to go ahead and check the air filter, and I'm glad that we did. I think it was time for a filter. Alright guys, so as you've seen, we took the Tahoe out and ran it using the draggy to see what we could run with it, and we're running 3 to 4 seconds behind what it should be, so this thing's going a lot slower than it should. So we're going to dig into a few things and see if we can't figure it out. We also got a few things that we're going to do to it to help it out either way, because whether we figure out the issue right now or not, we want to do these things so that when the issue is figured out, it's just going to run better. So first thing is we've got some plugs and wires for this, and we don't know if they've ever been changed. Truck has 134,000 on it, so we're going to throw some fresh plugs and wires in it. Then we got a cheap intake and filter so that we can get rid of this big thing and the box. And then we're also going to go ahead and do a compression check just to be safe. So we broke out the compression tester, and then after we drive it, I want to check the temperature of the cats, and we might also check fuel pressure, because the thing seems to run decent, but it's just way down on power. So let's go ahead and tear into this thing and get it apart. All Alright guys, so as you see, we've been working on this thing. We did get the wires off finally. Now we're working on getting the plugs off. And I'm pretty convinced that this thing has probably never had plugs and wires before. These things were on there so tight that it was ridiculous. I tried pliers, a whole bunch of other different little tricks that I've used over the years. And these things just did not want to come apart. Some of them, as soon as we touched them, they fell apart, but they didn't want to come off the plug. So let's go ahead and take a look at them. Got them all laid out right here. A bunch of them fell apart, like these ends would stay on the plug when you'd pull the wires off, and then some of them would just fall apart. Then you've also got some like this one here. Not sure, you guys probably can't see it too well, but the I'm not sure what that is, if it's porcelain or ceramic, whatever they use in there to insulate it is all shattered and cracked. So those things were pretty well smoked. So I'm sure the plugs aren't gonna look any better. So let's go ahead and get all the plugs out, and then we'll take a look at those, see how bad they are. We do wanna do a compression test on it just while we have it apart. We wanna see where it's at, make sure everything's good, but it's also a great idea when you get a new vehicle to you to do a compression test so that you have a baseline number for the future. So if you ever come back to it and check it and it's way down from what you previously tested, you know that you have an issue. So let's go ahead and get the rest of these plugs out. So we got all 8 plugs out and on the little box here. This is the passenger side. Not sure how well you guys are gonna be able to see it on camera, but these things are pretty well smoked. Pretty sure that they are the original plugs. Definitely don't look too healthy. That's the passenger side, and then we've got the driver side here. A couple definitely look worse than the others, like cylinder 3 right there. That one's pretty well smoked, but they all look pretty consistently smoked. So now we're gonna go ahead and get the compression tester out and hooked up, and we're gonna run through and check all the compression in each cylinder, make sure that they're somewhat even to each other, and just make sure we don't have one that is screaming at us that something's wrong. So let's get that set up and we will start checking it. All right, 180. $170, $180. All right, that's it. All right guys, so we just got done doing the compression test and everything checked out fine. So we're gonna go ahead and start putting plugs back in it. The only cylinder that I couldn't get to was number 8. That one's just completely miserable, especially on this thing. It's got extra AC lines and everything for the rear AC, and it's just miserable to get to. Even to get the plug out sucked, so I wasn't able to get the compression tester on it, but every other cylinder checked out fine, so we're gonna rock with it. So let's go ahead and get the spark plug gap checked, and we will put the new plugs in it. So we've got all the plugs in on the passenger bank, and we just got the number 8 wire on. That number 8 is the worst part of this whole job. If it wasn't for the number 8 spark plug, this thing would have been done like an hour ago. But you can't get your hand in there, and then with this extra AC lines that this thing has, it's absolutely miserable back there. You've got extra AC lines and the firewall and everything else. You just can't get to it. I tried underneath from the wheel well here. Can't even see it in the wheel well. So it's just absolutely miserable. Those front 3 are pretty easy, but that number 8 just sucks. So that was pretty miserable. Like I said, worst part of the job. Everything besides that is pretty easy. So I'm working on the driver's side bank now. Gonna go ahead and get all those plugs put back in it while Dylan starts putting the wires on the passenger side. So let's go ahead and get this thing finished up so we can get the intake on it. So we've got the intake that we're gonna run right here. This one is made in China. It's obviously a cheaper version, but for under 100 bucks, I think it's totally fine. It comes with pretty much everything you're gonna need. You've got fittings here so that we can run the PCV system into the intake. It's got 2 nice welded bungs that are threaded for those fittings. You got the velocity stack to adapt to your air filter that goes through the shields that we're gonna assemble. And then obviously it comes with your air filter, some hose clamps, and some couplers. When these air filters do go bad, I do recommend getting a K&N filter for it. But other than that, it's a pretty decent kit. We've got one on this Silverado, which I'll show you guys real quick. And it's been on here for quite a while and has been working absolutely fine. Intake air temps going down the road, I watch it on the Diablo tuner, and they are right at ambient air temp as soon as you get moving. So the thing's been working perfectly fine. So that's what we're gonna run on the Tahoe. We're gonna get everything set up. We'll bring it over to the car and start putting this thing together. And then we can fire it up, make sure we don't have any misfires, and take it for a ride and see if this thing seems any more peppy than it did before. As you guys seen, this thing was running super slow. So we're hoping that we cured some of it, or all of it, hopefully, but we'll see what happens. So let's get this intake on and go take it for a ride. Gonna go ahead and put the PCV system together. Not really in love with how these hoses run, but they're gonna work for today, and we'll get a catch can on it next week. So we got that intake on. This crossbar we're gonna fix after, not worried about that. But the intake is all on. Looks pretty good, definitely a lot better than the factory one. When we take it for a ride, we will keep an eye on the intake air temps. But let's go ahead and fire this thing up and make sure that we don't have any misfires or anything. Feels pretty smooth. Definitely sounds a little healthier, less stumble at idle, so that's a plus. But all right, we're gonna let this thing warm up and we will go take it for a ride. Dude, it feels way better. That felt way better than it's been. Dude, it feels way better. 60. Quarter mile. That felt way better. Alright, let's do another one. Same spot we did the first test, and GoPro. Obviously, I'm not able to stay in it for the full quarter, but we'll compare, like, I don't know, at least probably the 660. So 8th mile, we should be able to compare. But we don't even need to do another one, honestly. That felt so much better. So we'll head back and we will take a look at what we ran. I can guarantee you that it was better, though. This thing left a lot better. Well, as you guys seen, we took the Tahoe for a ride, and I instantly knew that it was down on power. It was just driving like a complete dog and way underpowered. So when we brought it back, I wanted to take a closer look at it, and we popped the air filter out of it. As soon as we did, I knew that the plugs and wires have probably never been changed as well, because that filter was completely smoked. So I had him go ahead and order up an intake and plugs and wires for it. We could have just thrown an air filter in it, but he wanted an intake in the future anyway, so might as well just do it all at once. And it made a huge difference. So if you guys have a 5.3 that seems to be down on power, I would definitely check these things out, because it might be your issue. So as always, I appreciate you guys for checking out the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell so that you get notified anytime we put out a video with the GTO, the Duramax, or the Hellcat. And we will catch you on the next one.